Hi guys, this is DJ Slope from Slope's Game Room, and today we're going to be looking at Disney's 13th animated classic, Alice in Wonderland. The all-cartoon musical wonder film. First released on July 26th, 1951. So, Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland is based on the book Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, and it's very much worth a read.
I'm sorry, but how can one possibly pay attention to a book with no pictures in it?
Yes, you are right, Alice. You know what? I really like this girl. Let's all live in a world of nonsense where books have nothing but pictures.
Now, nonsense. Once more, from the beginning. That's it, Dinah. If I had a world of my own, everything would be nonsense. Nothing would be what it is, because everything would be what it isn't. And contrariwise, what it is, it wouldn't be. And what it wouldn't be, it would.
Yes, alright darling, you're getting a bit annoying now. Played the I'm strange card a little bit too early for my liking. So yeah, this is how the story begins. Alice is talking absolute rubbish to a cat up in a tree, while her mum, down on the ground, is trying to teach her a history lesson. The gobbledygook from Alice carries on a little bit longer, and then eventually she ends up chasing a white rabbit, falls into a hole and lands in Wonderland. Yes, no messing about, straight to Wonderland. Or at least the door to Wonderland. Remember this one from Fantasia? I told you I wouldn't forget it. Unfortunately, Alice is far too big to fit into the tiny little door. So the door suggests that she drinks a little potion left on the side of the table, so she'd shrink down to the right size and get in. Without any real hesitation, Alice goes ahead and does this, shrinks down, but then realises that the door is locked. She then realises that the key is on top of the table, but now she's far too small to get on top of the table. So she eats a biscuit, grows way too big, and then kicks the door in the face. Anyway, she gets all upset about this, starts crying, and literally full-on Evanescent style cries a river. There's a little bit left of that drink that shrinks, so she has a little sip of that, zooms down, so small that she lands inside of the glass that she was drinking, and able to fit through the keyhole of the door. So, like I said, she swims in the river of tears, continuing to chase that white rabbit. On the way, she comes up against Tweedledee and Tweedledum, blocking her path. So just like all the other characters in this film, Tweedledee and Tweedledum really do just feel like fillers, getting in the way of Alice's reaching her goal, chasing that white rabbit, and basically just getting in the way of the main story. That's not a bad thing because most of these characters are really good and definitely memorable. It just makes the story very bizarre, but that's what Alice in Wonderland is going for, so thumbs up to it. And when I say this story is bizarre, I'm not joking. So let's have a look at some of the other people she meets. Some weird changing shape thing up here goes purple and black and ends up becoming a Cheshire cat. She goes to a tea party being held by a rabbit and some loopy guy in a hat, because it just happens to be her unbirthday. Note, unbirthday is not a day that is your birthday and deserves no celebration. Or how about the part of the story where she grows up so big again inside of a house with her arms and legs sticking out the side? Would the story really change if you took any of these bits out? No, the story doesn't change, but it's the characters that are in it that make it so worth your while. And Alice in Wonderland wouldn't be Alice in Wonderland without these weird sections. And let's not forget the stoned caterpillar. Anyway, the story moves on and Alice ends up chasing that white rabbit to the Queen's castle. And might I add, the Queen is probably the most mentalist of all Disney villains. Maybe Madam Mim from Sword in the Stone would be a good contender, or the dad from Cinderella. Anyway, she's nuts. Her guards happen to be playing cards, and what they're doing are painting all the white roses red. The Queen's got this obsession with everything being red. Anyway, Alice starts playing this weird game of croquet with the Queen, and long story short, they end up crossfiring, and the Queen decides it's going to be off with Alice's head. Alice runs away so this doesn't happen, and then suddenly, boom! It was all a dream. Do you remember when Lost was in its first few seasons and everyone was like, it better not end with them all being in a dream? This film went there. But anyway, like I said, the film is pretty damn good. It's definitely got a humongous legacy behind it. You can go to Alice's Maze in most of the Disneylands around the world, and everybody knows the Cheshire Cat. But while I'm here, I just wanted to add one little fact that you may not have known about. Alice in Wonderland was not Walt Disney's first rendition of the famous book. In fact, if you wanted to find out more about Walt Disney's first rendition of Alice, you're going to have to go back further than Walt Disney as you know it. The Laugh-O-Gram Studios. This is where Walt Disney produced a series of animated shorts for live-action Alice back in 1929. It's definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of animation or Walt Disney. This is really one of the first steps, even predating Mickey Mouse. So anyway, there you have it. That's my review and a couple of little facts on Alice in Wonderland. Now it's time to look at the games. So to start off, we're going to make our way over to Japan for an exclusive game only released in the land of the rising sun. And that game is the loosely translated Alice No Paint Adventure. The game was made by a Japanese studio called SAS that also did Donald Duck Magic Hat. Yeah, I think that's enough about the company's history. Okay, so it's fair to say that the game sure does look the part, and surprisingly the game is sort of a point and click adventure. You point on things and things happen. Sometimes the characters talk to you, but obviously in Japanese. Move on to the next screen and do it all again. And that's it. Are you disappointed? Yep, me too. So this game, unsurprisingly, is basically a story for young kids. However, there are a few minigames like this one, where you're throwing hopefully not burning cups of tea in the face of the Mad Hatter in the Cheshire Cat. Here's a pairs game. Okay, so the Paint the Roses red section was actually quite good. God, I'm really struggling to get excited for this one, because that's really it. What's crazy is that the game has a short intro, which is, from what I can tell, a lot better than the game. However, as the title suggests, the storyline is not the only part of this game, as you also get to play an incredibly poor version of Mario Paint. Shall we move on? Hopefully the Game Boy Color will save us here. Here we have the perfectly titled Alice in Wonderland. Now this is more like it. Here we're chasing the White Rabbit in a pretty kiddie platforming stage. As the story goes, Alice then falls down the rabbit hole, and believe it or not, this is actually a fair bit harder than you'd expect. And also, it goes on for far too long. Next is back to the platforming stages. So just like the film, you need to make Alice small and large to be able to get through the door. Again, this level goes on for absolutely ages. But thankfully, the game does change it up a bit as Alice finds herself in the glass bottle, and eventually we get to a top-down level that really reminds me of a classic Toe Jam and L game. Well, this actually acts as the world's hub world. I've said it before and I'll say it again, the levels in this game take way too long. And in a good platformer, that's not really the biggest deal. However, in this game, the controls are quite wonky. And for the most part, the rest of the game is exactly like this. Average hub world followed by average platforming. This bit's quite cool as it changes it up a bit, and you end up playing as Bill the Lizard, aiming to get to the top of the house that Alice is stuck in. Here you're playing croquet with the evil queen, which isn't that bad either. And finally, the final level. What a disappointment. Run the credits. That's it. Alice in Wonderland for the Game Boy Color. It really isn't that bad, I suppose, but if it wasn't for this video, I wouldn't spend any time with this game. Now, other than these two games, you obviously have an appearance in Kingdom Hearts, and a pretty decent appearance too, might I add. And then there's the American McGee games. But as they're not part of the original Disney movie, we're not going to be covering them here. Although if you do want to play an Alice in Wonderland game, you should probably play those instead. And then of course you got the games related to the 2010 Tim Burton movie. But again, we're not covering them here. Although, this game is really good. But for Disney's original animated movies, that is it. Sure, you might see her appear in the odd Princess Flash game I haven't mentioned, but overall these are the main games that follow the movie. Personally, if I was charged at Disney Interactive, I would want to get LucasArts involved and greenlight a nice Alice in Wonderland point and click adventure for the PC. Kickstarter, here I come. Hey guys, thanks for watching my Alice in Wonderland video. If you want to see my last one or the next one, click here. Please rate, comment, favourite and subscribe, and if you want to see videos like this a week early, check out my Patreon. This is DJ Slope signing out, and hopefully I'll see you all next time.